Sparkles and Shivs, it's the Con Mom Show. Stephanie
and Sarah.
Hi everyone, it's Con Mom Sarah here and
Stephanie.
And we are here to discuss fandom ticket sales for the cons and how we feel about that and the new registration process now we're going post-pandemic. I mean, we're still here, but I think the trends that we'll see post-pandemic. So
yeah. At the tail end of the main pandemic-ish, maybe we hope. Knock on wood.
We're at the encore pandemic, I feel like, at this point. So
encore is a really good word for it.
It's dramatic. It's here. Doesn't necessarily mean we like it. So
yeah.
Oh, so for those of us, I feel like if you're into cons, you've gotten the emails, you're signed up for them. But a lot of the big conventions, Reed Pop and other places like MCM and stuff are doing like fan pre-sales. So they basically want you to pay a subscription fee to make you a super fan. Basically, you pay to pay for tickets earlier. And we have feelings about that. It feels a little scammy to me. Like, I get it that you lost money during the pandemic, but you still held on to most of our money. And I feel like those events probably carried your deposits over in most situations. So I'm a little skeptical, and it feels really scammy to me. Yeah. And I think sorry, go ahead.
No, go finish your thought and then I'll go.
I feel like it's just an excuse for them to start a whole new thing that they've wanted to try for a while and figure out a new way to squeeze money out of us, even though we're already bleeding. So we're just gushing money.
Do they follow the Disney Plus premium model is essentially what I see this as. And I do get some level of you want to impress on the people who go to your conventions that there is, especially if it is predominantly inside a building that has to, for either local health guidelines or their own company policy regulations, abide by a certain number of people to fit COVID-19 standards. Especially because we're not out of the woods with the rise of the Delta variant and everything. So I do understand. I was just reading an email today for a convention that, they are not doing the super fan thing, but they are saying like, hey, we are not doing weekend passes. You're going to have to wear 2 days. You will have to buy each day. So we can better gauge on how many people are in the building at any given time. And I get that. That makes total sense to me. But yeah, the paying to get first dibs on buying tickets, there's something to me that does not sit right with. And I really dislike. In some ways, this was inevitable, but also like, my God, conventions are not just for rich people. They shouldn't just be for who has the most cash to burn, who has the most disposable income, and I know, and I'm sure that that's what these conventions who are doing this, they're targeting in the game industry. They're known as whales. The people with the most disposable income that have no problem casually dropping hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for a limited experience. But it sucks for the rest of us who don't have that unlimited disposable income, who want to be part of this. It's icky. It's gross. I don't like it. There are other ways you can handle that and still be equitable and fair and let everybody get a shot.
It feels very elitist to me. Like, it feels like you're putting us in categories. That's how I feel about it.
Yes.
Like you said, most people that go to the cons don't afford that. Like, most of it's like teenagers and young people. I mean, the big ones, I guess we have like the collectors and people that rebuy, but like your average con is young people, teenagers, families, stuff like that. Like, they cannot afford to shell out that, and that's kind of ridiculous. And you are catering towards people with disposable income, and I think two, like it feels less scammy. It just if you're gonna use the excuse that you need it to cover costs, like raise the ticket prices themselves. Don't do like the weird membership thing to skip ahead. Like that's just rude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't like
I
people
just
pay more can get into healthcare faster. Like that's just it's all scammy and I don't like it. So
if you pay more, you can jump the line. Like, I hate that concept. All right. We already have enough issue as it is with rich people thinking if they throw enough money at the problem, that it makes the problem go away
yeah.
or not exist for them, or the rule doesn't exist as long as you have make this income threshold. And that is something that ticks me off a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the disposable income people will throw like towards autographs and stuff, but I guess at that point the cons have already paid a fee for the guests, so they're not really getting that money back. So that's their way of getting the money back that they've paid toward guests, basically, because the guests get a pocket like the pictures and the autographs and all of that. So yeah, it's an interesting way of
And
them attempting to shift wealth.
Yeah. And I'm sure some conventions have figured out that just having certain guests isn't necessarily enough to get butts through the door. I can think of a specific chain, of which I shall not name, that was notorious for getting really high profile guests, but having a really subpar show, and their per day prices were about the same as the per day prices for San Diego Comic-Con, a little bit lower, but there really wasn't that much. When you broke down the price per day, it wasn't that much difference than San Diego Comic-Con. And what they offered was substantially less. And I went to one of those cons because I got a ticket deal. And that's why I went. And, you know, a Saturday at that convention with these big ticket guests felt like a Sunday afternoon at any other con. And those who frequent cons knows the Sunday late afternoon con feeling and the Sunday late afternoon attendance. And that's what it felt like at peak times on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not trying to like pick on any specific chain. It's just like a trend. It's a trend.
Yeah, it's a trend
right now.
Like, you have to do more.
Mm-hmm.
And I on some level I sympathize that it is hard for convention goers and runners that to really put on a show and make sure it's profitable and to cover your butts in case something happens. You know, with the Delta variant cases going up, I'm sure a lot of convention runners are worried about getting shut down for cons that are happening during this year. So I get that worry, I get that concern. But also on the flip side, you know, there's ways to handle it without being assholes to the people who are actually going to go to your con. And I feel like a lot of us, well, yes, we are hungry for cons. We are hungry to see what we can. We also, at the flip side, while we haven't been to any of these in, you know, a year and a half, we also, a lot of us have shifted priorities, and you're going to have to do more than be a con that exists to get us out the door and into crowds of this size. Like, a big name guest didn't cut it then for every con, and it's not going to cut it now. Like, you're actually going to have to put in some work to make your convention worth it.
And I do like, on the flip side, how they have made online events where people can go on and do that. That's really cool. And that makes it accessible. And I think that's great that you are like, they do have that option to kind of balance it out. But yeah, I do feel like if you're going to charge like a membership, there should be more towards it versus a special collector's founder's pin. Like,
oh God, yeah.
I mean, pins are great, don't get me wrong, but if I'm paying that much more to get my tickets.
No, sorry, I'm going to give my wife a reason to divorce me and say pens are not that great, and I don't care what the pen is, it's not worth a subscription membership to a freaking con.
True.
She loves pens.
I figured.
She's going to be really mad at me when she hears me say that.
Hide them all. Just kidding.
Hide the pens. Yeah.
Is that versus like that's what she has to sneak in the house. She's like, I didn't get any more pens, not at all. Like, what are you talking about?
Physically, I have to physically drag this woman away from the Target school supply section every time. Every time.
Yeah. Definitely. But what are you guys excited about going to a con? Like, what's your first thing that you're excited about, knowing that these are on the horizon again and that we get to go to them? I'm ready to see my friends again and take pictures. I'm ready to take more cosplay photos because while traditional photos are great, they are very boring to me, and so I'm very excited to like actually be able to take cosplayers again.
Just go ham with it. Yeah. I am so ready for and oh god, I do miss that, doing the weird one of my favorite cosplay photography shenanigans is me climbing up a park waterfall in high heels and a mermaid tail because we needed to get this photo.
I'm impressed.
And I was like, looking back, I'm like, you're an idiot. And also 10 out of 10 would do it again. Those pictures were bomb. Like, there's a level of just like disregard for personal safety and just like my last 4 brain cells aesthetic that goes into cosplay photography. I feel like that produces amazing results, and like it makes me conflicted because, like, you know, as designated con mom, if I see someone else doing this, I'm like, oh my god, I'm holding your shoes, I'm doing this, we're gonna have a spotter, we're gonna have the but you asked me to do it. Oh yeah, I can climb that in 4-inch heels. This is fine.
See, I would never attempt that because I would die. Fun fact, I would literally just trip and die or fall and die. I'm like, I don't have the finesse to climb things. It's fine.
I have practice. I have walked on ice hockey rinks in heels before, and I didn't even fall. So I'm prepped.
You got the balance of like, you're like, yes,
I got it.
I got this.
Yeah,
I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah, I can do this. But yeah, excited for that. Excited for hanging out. A lot of my cosplay circle, we've pretty much come to the realization that, like, you know what? Solo cons by yourself without our circle of friends, nah, pass. We're like, this is for hanging out with friends and for meeting out with friends and for making memories with friends. And if it's just going to be like 1 or 2 people, 1 household, no.
Right.
No,
if you're going to commit, it better be a party. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're there to make memories and celebrate with people. I'm definitely like, I'm always been hyped for artist alleys, going to cons, but I'm even more hyped now. I want to go see the creations that people have been building over the course of the last year and a half. I want to celebrate that. There's like a hunger for like more than the status quo, you know.
Definitely.
And especially in my region, like prior to COVID, there were a lot of cons that got really lazy, that were just like, we're a con and we exist, so you should go to us. And you know what? There was a time where I would be all over that. I did that. There was a time in my life where I was going to 2 to 3 conventions a month. That time is gone. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. I am picking what carefully based on what you have to offer and not just the fact that you exist and you are in driving distance.
Making it more meaningful. Yeah, especially out here where there's an oversaturation of cons in California. There are so many cons. Just like, yeah, totally. I totally get it. And for me, it's like, how many of my friends can I go photograph? Like, oh, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, all my cosplay friends would be like, please hold, please stay. We must get a shot, please. Yes, I'm ready. But still, I'm ready for it to be safe, but I am ready for cons to come back. Yep. Definitely. And on the flip side of ticket sales too, outside of our membership qualms, I like the idea of doing like the QR codes for tickets and making it faster. I'm ready for LineCon to go away. I feel like that's a thing of the 2000s we should leave behind. We have technology now. Please invest in it if you're taking all of my money. Just do it. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that's not feasible for every small, like
Mm.
really small local con. And the con I went to, my first con post pandemic, you know, they did eventually do the, like, they had runners going down the line and say, if you have exact change, I have your wristbands right here, let's get you in.
Let's go.
And it was $5. It was not a high production, and it never was. They never like mine. I don't know. I'm not on the people who run it, but based on how many years I went to it, like I don't think anyone expect it to be a high production thing. It is it's a lot more low key, a lot more casual type of event. But yeah, like if you are a big con, like if you're getting over, you know, even 5,000 people, like 10,000 people plus, and there's so many cons that are over 10,000 people, you can do a QR code. You can do a QR code. We have gotten to the point where local municipal governments are doing QR codes for buses. If they can do it, so can you. They're usually the last people who get that kind of technology.
Or the budget, so.
Exactly. Like that's, come on. QR codes or mailing tickets in advance, staring at you, that one con that absolutely refused to do it and would do a 4 to 5 hour line con. And over
We're not
100
naming
degrees.
names.
We're not
you know
naming
who
names.
you are.
But now you know who you are if you do that in the height of the summer, where your line wraps out, you know, to a
In the
really
sun.
sketch area of town, and you have your staffers with coolers and ice making snowballs to throw at each other while people literally pass out.
Yeah. I do think that hopefully the pandemic will push them towards making it a priority because they don't want people condensed all together. I think they'll hopefully take away from this ways. I mean, they have to. Like, it's probably going to be a priority for them to keep going, especially since I'm sure their business, like their event insurance went up too as a result of this. But yeah, I'm sure their priority will be like getting people in and out of things faster, like streamlining experiences, all that stuff, which I'm glad that it only took them a pandemic to figure that out. But I'm glad we are at that point where it's going to be a thing. So I'm ready.
Technology has advanced more in the last year than it has but it's advanced a lot more than just the time that we've had, and our technology was already moving at a pretty rapid pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I genuinely hope people take advantage of that, and con runners take advantage of that, and really, really try and make a good experience, because you can have a good experience for fans while also making your bottom line. It's totally possible.
Yep, it is. And for those of you who this is your first con, we're going to go over the basics. Just to remember, if you're going to your first con, please drink water, please pack a snack, and please bring your phone charger or an external battery, especially if you're at a big con because there's not outlets everywhere.
Yeah. Also
always let your buddy know where you're at. So
have on the snack thing, have designated snack money that in cash, just in case. Like put it in a little baggie if you need it that says cash only. Don't be that kid that I have seen on convention Facebook groups going, I ran out of money and I need to eat. Does anyone want to buy this figure off me I just bought on the floor? Like just the blood pressure spike. And also certain conventions, I can think of one that because of their venue and venue restrictions and venue clauses, there are certain ones that don't allow outside food. I've been able to get around that because I take my little god siblings to cons a lot, and one of them has a laundry list of food allergies. And I just tell them that, like, this kid has food allergies, she has to eat, I have to make sure that what she eat is not going to send her like to the hospital. And that usually works to get me through the door, and that's me being completely honest. I'm not trying to game the system, like, but you know, it is possible that depending on the venue, and check ahead of time, that they might take objection to your granola bar, which I find really irritating, but it happens. So make sure that you have cash on hand for food, and that is only for food.
And another good reason to carry cash is for the fact that like I know some places will go to cons and the Wi-Fi cuts out and a lot of the vendors like can't get their Square thing readers to work or whatever reader they're using. And some of like the food vendors only take cash. They don't have like the technology set, especially for a smaller con. So yeah, it's always good to have some cash on you. No, in the case of emergency where they're like,
Yep, cash also.
But be smart about it. Hide it.
Yeah, hide it. You know, having it in a plastic baggie or a little thin wallet shoved into your boot can work really great, or the old trick of the cleavage money. But again, be respectful. Put it in a wallet or Ziploc or something. Don't hand somebody your sweaty boot bunny. That's gross. But the other advantage of cash is that cash helps you regulate your budget.
Yes.
If you have a strict budget for something, you know, for how much spending money you have, if it's in cash, once the cash is gone, it's gone and you're done. And it helps you be a little bit mindful, especially because those first cons, you can go a little bit crazy with the money spending because everything's exciting and wonderful.
I did it. Don't be me. Don't be me. I did it. My first con. So
I don't think I did, but I also had small children with me on my first con, so I was primarily hyper fixated on them. I did go a little nuts the first time I went to San Diego Comic-Con, but also I went to San Diego Comic-Con, so
that's basically I'm like, this is my Christmas. I don't care. The rest of the year, I'm gonna be a little bit more mindful, but I'm like, that's my holiday. I don't care.
Yeah. Also, make sure to pace yourself. It's good to do research in advance to see what panels there are, other things that interest you that you want to check out. However, do not overbook yourself. Do not have yourself running from, okay, this hour I'm going to do this at 1 p.m. and then 2 p.m. and then 3 p.m. and then 4. No.
Yep.
Do not do that. Like, give yourself like an A and B list of like, this might be nice to go through, but make sure that you're pacing yourself so you're not running from one pace to another. Make sure that you're letting yourself breathe and relax. If you're feeling overwhelmed, give yourself the grace to go like step outside, get some fresh air, and just vibe. And you know, yes, you paid for your tickets, you got in the door. That doesn't mean you need to be there until the convention closes.
Yeah.
It is okay to say, you know what? I am done for the day. I've gotten what I wanted out of here, and go home. Like, it's okay. You're allowed to do that and say that, because you really need to take care of yourself, especially like there's a lot of people. It gets really warm. It can get really crowded. You can end up with like the fish swimming upstream experience. If you're claustrophobic, you can run into some issues depending on how dense the crowds are. There's a lot of things that if you have like certain anxieties, that they can get set off in these very crowded, excitable environments. So allow yourself the grace to step back.
Yes, be kind to yourself. And don't worry about what other people think if you need to take a moment, because generally people are understanding and they know it can get overwhelming, even the veterans that have done it forever. And also, like, especially if you go to like a big con and first con, definitely not be afraid. Another reason to not be afraid to leave is you do a lot more walking than you realize. Those, especially like San Diego, that convention center, like it's wide. Like one day I did like 12 miles of walking all around there. Granted, I was like photographing and going constantly, interviewing and stuff, but like it's massive. So yeah, so just always be prepared for that. And that doesn't include like the time, like if you're walking there from like a hotel or if you're taking about like transport, just it's okay. It's okay to not be there from AM to PM. So or take a break and come back.
I am someone who has a pretty regular food schedule of like when I eat meals and when I need to eat meals. And if I don't eat meals by then, I'm going to start to get hangry, and no one wants to see that. But at cons, with the pace and everything, it is very common for me to look down at the clock and go, oh, it's 3 o'clock and I haven't had lunch yet. How did this happen? So like be mindful, and allow yourself that self-care.
If you go back to our first con video, I talked about my experience of like I didn't eat all day and then inhaled an entire Domino's pizza by myself at 7 p.m. So just don't do that. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And then you feel really sick later. So yes.
And like, if you're needing food and drink and there's lines everywhere, the best thing you can do is walk across the street or walk a few blocks down. One of the cons I used to go to, there was a Starbucks in the convention center itself that was always, the line was always super long. If you walked across the street to the Starbucks at the nearby convention hotel, line was a quarter at most of what it was across the street. Like you just, and that also allows you to physically distance yourself, to take that breath, and to just get yourself re-centered and take care of yourself and do what you need to do.
Definitely. Yes, these are our pro tips. And like I said, all of our videos leading up to this pretty much talk about like prepping for your first con and all of that stuff, and more of like con experiences and con culture. So be sure to go back and listen to those. And if you guys ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are always glad to answer questions on our socials or Project Node socials. But yeah, thank you as always for watching. We are Con Moms, Sarah and
Stephanie.
bye.